dignitaries and politicians and whatnot, there's
Oh,
security concerns,
yeah, I have a
right?
good one of that.
Yeah, like give us a good one.
I've just remembered this. So I was after my like in my traveling with the president all the time. I did a special assignment from the White House to the State Department. So I worked for Joe Hagan, the deputy chief of staff to the president
Yeah.
at the State Department. So the State Department was paying me, but I reported to the White House.
Okay.
So the State Department hated me.
Because you were on their payroll.
Because I was on their
But you didn't
payroll,
have
but
to
had
listen.
no control. They didn't have any control.
Yeah.
So I was, it was the G8 summit. You probably heard of that, the group
Yeah.
of 8. So we were planning this large summit that was happening on Sea Island, Georgia, a 3-mile long island. All the, G8 world leaders, plus we had invited a total of 21 world leaders to the island. So we're talking nuclear submarine off the coast.
It's a major
surface to
target,
air
a
missile.
massive target.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
So-
one of the biggest ones in the history of the world. when you
Right,
think
because
about
Bush,
how things have lined
President
out.
Bush had invited the broader African and greater Middle Eastern countries as well. So
It's
it
hot.
was a very,
It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I was in charge of I was in charge of all the accommodations, but then I was also in charge of 2 other world leaders, which became pretty interesting. So I was their lead advance representative and then protocol officer, which usually the White House, we don't play protocol officer unless they're the president or the vice president, meaning there's proper pomp and circumstance and greetings and arrival things. And so usually your person that you work for is your country that you're representing. Well, I had to represent Yemen
Whoa.
and Senegal. Senegal was actually pretty cool. President Abdoulaye Wade, he's an older gentleman. He was great. But Yemen was a very interesting country. Obviously, their views on things are a little different than the United States.
Slightly.
Yeah. And President Saleh, I think I don't know if he's still the president. I should check on that. But he was one of the longest running leaders, if you'd like to say that, for a long time. So
I'm going to say dictator.
yes,
but
that
that's-
would be good. So President Saleh was my main principal that I was taking care of. And so, long story short, I had showed up. He was doing a major meeting with the president. I showed up to the suite. The Secret Service detail leader, a big African-American dude, came out of the suite when I was walking into the suite, and he had like an MP5 machine gun over his shoulder. He walked in and he said, "We are not going anywhere." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Just go into the suite." And so I walked in. So before that, there's obviously meetings that are had, right? And
Yep.
and conversations about what the dress will be, what the, down to who you'll be sitting next to. It's all
Mhm.
based on order of precedence. Well, Yemen was the highest order of precedence for Middle Eastern countries. So they were sitting to the right of President Bush. Very key point. I walk in, we told them it was going to be Western attire, meaning men's business
Suits, right?
Yeah, not ceremonial garb of your country.
Mhm.
I walk in, he's in full Arab regalia, turban, gown, and he had a gold-plated 45 on his side and which came in a diplomatic pouch.
This is getting
and
spicy.
then a huge
Saber.
yes,
Yeah.
one of those curved, sabers.
Oh, this is spicy.
Yes. So I was like, oh shit. So he's looking at me, he's like, "Let's go." And I'm like, so I'm like, "No, let's talk about this." I thought we were, I was letting you, I kind of spun my wheels. I was like, "Sir, it's Western attire. The rest of your,
Never mind the gun.
yeah, I kind
The
of
gun
didn't,
and the
I didn't go
sword.
there. I didn't go there. Yeah. So I just kind of explained to him that it was Western attire, that, everybody else in his, all the Middle Eastern countries are going to be in that. Long story short, he's like, "No, I want to go like this." I was like, "Okay, but you're taking a class photo." Called it a class photo.
Yeah.
Class photo. And I said, "You're going to stick out. You might want to fit in, and be a part of the." Nope.
Nice
Nope.
play. Nice play, man.
Yeah, yeah. So he starts walking, and I'm thinking to myself, we're not going anywhere, like with this gun on and the sword on. So he starts walking down the hallway of this nice hotel that we had bought out. And I said, so he's like, let's go. And I'm like, "Okay." So I said, nobody else is wearing their traditional garb with their ceremonial pieces. I'm just assuming they're ceremonial at this point, not active weapons. And he's like, "Oh no, this is what I do." And I'm like, "Okay." So I get down to the limo that he's going in, and I have about a 15 to 20 minute car ride, because it's on a larger island that we were on, that he was on, versus where the president was staying. We were on St. Simon's and the president was on Sea Island. So I'm like, "Okay, got some time to buy." So the detail leader reminded me, "We're not getting out of the car unless you figure this shit out,"
Right.
Basically. So I convinced him. I tried to talk to him, I said, President Saleh said, I just need to be upfront with you. You're sitting right next to the president of the United States. And I said, it would make him uncomfortable if you are wearing a gold-plated 45 and a sword. I said, none of your other leaders are going to be wearing any of that. I said, nor would the Secret Service feel comfortable protecting you and our president with that way.
Oh,
So
nice play.
so he said, oh, and he just looked at me and he got in the limo. And I don't sit in the limo with him because I'm not in that order. I sat in the police car that led the motorcade over. So I'm praying as we're driving
that
over.
he's not getting out of that limo.
So I radioed to my other colleague and said, we're going to hold, which means a hold room that we keep people in until they're ready to go out. Cause I was like, I got to buy time. So I get out of the car, run back to the limo to open he opens the door, and thank God he had taken off the gun and left it in the seat. He still had his sword on. Small bit.
All right. Well, hey, we're making progress here.
So then anyways, we get to the hold room and he decides to still wear the sword, but he pulled it out and proved that it was a dull blade. And so the Secret Service,
they were okay. They gave him a pass.
Yeah. Sorry,
gave him a pass.
But yeah.
No, that is a fantastic story. I mean, it's just stuff that's happening that you never really think about, but actually makes perfect sense. Because if you watch how those dignitaries, politicians, bureaucrats, however you want to label them, operate in their own countries or in their own regions, that is very normal, right? In a lot of cases. And now you've asked them all to come together.
Yes.
And that shit's shit's
yeah,
wild.
They even had like business cards that they made up. The ones you get like with the perforated edges that you can buy at like Office Depot. Like they printed them all with their fake titles. My sources at 3-letter acronym agencies told me who they really were.
That's funny.
But
man.
yeah, it was very interesting.